Today we are going to look at ordering the following numbers in ascending order. Now these numbers are not like your normal whole numbers. Basically they are a combination of percentages, common fractions, and decimals. Now this topic or this aspect of percentages stems from our previous tutorial, which dealt with conversion of percentages to decimals to fractions. So therefore, for every number that is in this row, we must be able to know what is the fraction, the common fraction for it, the percentage for it, or the decimal for it. So you can choose whichever means you feel as if you can or you need to in order for you to order your numbers. So we will look at 3 different ways that we can figure out how to order our numbers. First, for students who would prefer to do percentages, we know that the first one obviously is already 20%. A half would be 50%. And the last one, 0.1, would be 10%. So from that, we can order our numbers in ascending order. Okay, so our answer would obviously be 10% first, 20%, and then 50%, which would mean that it would be 0.1, it will be 20%, and then a half. If we choose another method by using fractions, the 20% would actually be 1/5. The half would obviously be a half, and 0.1 would be 1/10. Okay, so from that, it might be a little more difficult for some students to figure out how to order it, but you can. The working would take a little bit longer to do so. Okay. The third option that we can look at is using decimals. So we know that 20% would be, so let me just label this A, option B, and option C. Okay, the 20% will be 0.2, the half will be 0.5, and of course we would have the 0.1. Okay, now for me, I would think that basically I would prefer percentages, then possibly decimal, and then the common fraction. Because with the common fraction, in order for us to put it in order and to make sure that it is in proper order for some students, we cannot just look at it. We may have to do some extra work to make sure that we put it in order. So if we look at option A, which we did, and we are going to write our final answer in ascending order, it will be the 10%, the 20%, and then the 50%. So it will be 0.1, then 20%, and then a half. So that will be a final answer. Now you don't have to do all this working. You can prefer which method. You can prefer a method and you can actually use that method to work out your question. Okay, so as I say, if it was me, I would have chosen possibly option A first. Okay, so in other words, my working would have basically look like this: 20%, 50%, and then 10%. And then from this, I would put it in order, right? So I would know that 10% is really 0.1, 50% is really a half, and 20% is obviously 20%. Okay, so therefore 0.1 would be first, then 20%, then a half. Now we can look at another example to make sure that we understand. So we have 0.5, 40%, and 1/3. Interesting fraction there. Okay, so in looking at this, if I were to convert this into percentages, 0.5 would be 50%, and then I would have 40%, and then a third would be 33 and a third percent. By now I hope that students had memorized their conversions. Okay, so in doing this, again, I would remind students that memorizing your conversions are important. So now we put it in order. So the first number would be 1/3, right? And then we would have our 40%, and then we would have 0.5. Let us look at another example. Again, reminding students that in order to do this successfully, you must know your conversions. I'm not saying that you go and you check your conversions, okay? Probably the best thing to do at this point in time is to actually learn it by heart. Because I know that most of you would have your conversion table. Either you would have done it in school or I would have given it to you on previous sessions, and you should attempt to memorize it by heart, because if you have an end of term test or you have an examination, you can't go back and look at your conversion table. You must know it by heart. So 0.25 would be 25%, then we would have 50%, and 1/8 will be 12.5%. We should know these by heart. So again, our answer would be 1/8, 0.25, and 50%. Okay, so I hope that this brief tutorial will help you with your conversions, because I can keep doing a lot of questions, but at the end of the day, if you don't know your conversions, then you just won't be able to do it, right? Because I think it is, if you know your conversions, it wouldn't take you much to actually be able to put it in order, because we must know that 12.5 is the smallest number, then 25, and then 50. So what would keep you back from actually being successful at doing this exercise is if you don't know your conversion. So the conversion table that was sent to you or that you have, please learn it or refer to it in doing this exercise. If not, then you would have to actually convert it by actual calculation that we did again in previous sessions. So I hope that this was useful to you all and you would be able to do this. Now this is a possible question that could show up for your examination as well, so don't take it for granted.